a little bit closer for you. And so if we move the cursor over the box that connects the two arrows, you can see that the cursor changes into the move tool, just as it does when going over one of the arrows. And if we click and drag when it's over the box, you can see that we can move the object around. Now, one thing to be careful of is that this only works when you click on the border of your box here. If I zoom out, so where the icon is much bigger, or this move icon is much bigger, you'll notice that as I'm over the edges of the box, it's just fine. But as I move it past that, it switches back to our select icon. Now, there are going to be times when you don't notice this. Like, for example, if I'm zoomed in pretty close, this gizmo is completely over the cylinder. And so what we can do is we can click and drag freely without too much worry. But if we back out, where the gizmo only occupies a very small part of the object, we have an opportunity here to select other objects. And that can be a little bit frustrating at first, because if I go like this and click and drag, you'll notice nothing happens, and that can just get a little old and a little frustrating pretty quickly. So just keep that in mind. Wait until the cursor changes, and that's kind of a golden rule of 3D Studio Max. Before you click and drag, make sure the cursor is what you want it to be. And so in this case, we want it to be the move tool. Now, one other thing related to this, a little known trick that you can use, is you can actually resize this gizmo fairly easily. So if you find yourself wanting a larger gizmo or a smaller gizmo for any particular reason, you can use the plus and minus signs on your keyboard. Now, these are the plus and minus signs directly in line with the numbers at the top of the keyboard. So you can use a minus sign, which is also the dash key, to decrease the gizmo size. And you can use the plus key to increase the gizmo size. So you can use it to help you work with your scene. All right, so now we're going to be taking a look at rotation. Rotation is very similar to Max in the way that you operate with it. Now, the rotation tool is directly to the right of the move tool. So if we switch over to the rotate tool and activate it by left-clicking on it, you'll see that we get a different gizmo around our object. Now, the plus and minus signs work well for this as well. And so in this case, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger by hitting plus a couple times on the keyboard. We're now going to rotate our object to better fit our guide here. Now, looking at the different views, let's see what we have here. On the top, we can't really tell what the angle is. Can't really tell in the front. On the side, we know that it's in here, but we're really not sure which object it is. So what we can do is we can use a couple methods to try to get a better idea of where our guide is, or where our cylinder is in this scene. So one way is to select the guide. So if we left click on the guide, you can see it puts a white border around the object. Now in the left view here,